He's a numerologist. He's great. So welcome to your Radiance Reclamation. So heal and awaken through the chakras and energy bodies. So we're going to start with the root, which is Mulhadhara, and talk about the soul body and how those connect, because the soul body is one of the 10 energy bodies in yoga. So welcome. I'm so thankful you're here. It really has been life-changing for me. And I will tell you, this process continues, but it's not like, I don't want you to feel like you're in this continual like healing. I don't even like this class was about healing childhood trauma, but I don't even like to use that terminology because I feel like it can kind of inadvertently keep us in like a loop of where we're always like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like nothing is wrong with you. Everything that happened to you below the age of 9, it's just that you didn't have the nervous system, you didn't have the mental capacity to deal with the things, and some things were really terrible that happened, and it's not making it okay, but it's just being in recognition that maybe these things that we took in as children like set a pattern that made us that served us at the time, but as adults it's not really serving us anymore. So if we can kind of start to unwind those and really unwind those outdated systems and patterns and upgrade, that's the whole idea. So I went through our outline, because that's what I do. So we're doing week 1, Mulhadhara, root chakra, soul body, Svadhisthana. I really wanted to, like, I want to say the Sanskrit words more because I like to honor what the roots of where it came from. But this is really interesting. So Svadhisthana, because I, like a lot of you are Kundalini yoga practitioners, and a lot of people call it the negative mind, but I have I didn't bring the book in here, but one of these yogi, a Kundalini yogi, he refers to it as the protective mind rather than the
I love
negative
that.
mind. I love it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
so, like words matter. And the thing is, like, these are all Sanskrit, so we do our best to, to translate. But when he said the protective mind and the projective mind, traditionally it's the negative mind and the positive mind, but these just felt so, I was like, yes, that's so good, because the Svadhisthana is connected to the protective or the negative mind. The Manipura is connected to the positive or the projective. And like we talk a lot about in yoga, like that you're projecting out. So that it just was like, that's perfect. So week 4, we'll go through the heart or the Anahata and the neutral mind. Week 5, the Vishuddha, which is actually tied to the physical body, interestingly enough. The Anya chakra in the arc line, which is women have 2 arc lines, but we'll get into that later. Week 7, Sahasrara, the crown chakra, and the auric body. And then the weeks 8, 9, and 10 is when we deal with those really subtle energies, the pranic body, the subtle body. I'm literally feeling like I'm going to be a PhD in the pranic body after the course I'm taking. I'm so excited. Like it's just, it's everything. The breath is everything. So, and the radiant body, many of you, I think everyone here has a pretty strong radiant body, which is just magnetizes what you need. I've taught you guys, like, don't know Paola, but I've known her for a long time, and she's such a dear, and she has like a strong radiant body too. People, it's so strong that sometimes it's a problem because people just are here, let me just tell you my whole life. I know I just met you. Like this happens to her all the time. So it's really cool. And she's not necessarily like a Kundalini yogi, but people have a naturally strong radiant body, and you can enhance that. So what are the chakras? The chakras, cucumber. So I really try to say chakra and pronounce it correctly. The lady that's teaching, the first teacher I had in my course said it, chakra. So anyways, it's a sacred map of the body's energy centers, guiding the flow of our life force through every part of our being. So each chakra is like this radiant wheel, which chakra means wheel. It's Sanskrit. And it influences our physical health, the emotional health and balance, spiritual awareness. And together, these chakras form a bridge between the seen and the unseen, the human and the divine. So the origins of these are very ancient, and they're from India, where they were discovered in early yogic and tantric texts, such as the Upanishads and the Yoga Sutras. These wisdom traditions saw the body as a temple of consciousness with 7 main energy centers rising along the spine, each one offering a doorway to higher awareness and deeper connection with our soul. So the energy bodies, a lot of you know this, but it's always good to review. The 10 energy bodies are the subtle layers of our being that exist beyond the physical form. They express the multidimensional nature of our soul, showing how spirit moves through the mind, through the energy, and through matter. When balanced, these bodies bring harmony to our thoughts, radiance to our presence, and deep alignment with our higher purpose. So the origins of these came from ancient yogic science as well, of Kundalini yoga, where the human being is seen as 10 energy bodies rather than just one. And this wisdom has been preserved throughout these yogic lineages in India and Tibet. And there's a whole, like, you can do a whole nother course about how people believe Kundalini yoga is tied to Tibetan Buddhism, but that's like for another day. And later clarified, Yogi Bhajan brought these and clarified these in the West. So each body, from the soul body, which is body 1, to radiant body, body 10, carries a unique frequency and lesson, guiding us towards mastery of the self and remembrance of our divine nature. And it's taken lifetimes for mastery. Like, I'm pretty sure this isn't our first rodeo, and probably together either. So how do these imbalances happen? Like, what happens? So before the age of 9, typically, our brains are just still forming the ability to reason and like interpret our external world. So during these early years, we just absorb everything through feeling and a perception rather than logic. We haven't, like, our logical minds are still developing actually till the age of 25, but our child self creates meaning only the way that it can, through emotion and instinct. So these early interpretations become like these energetic imprints in our body and our aura that shape how we see ourselves and life. They form patterns of protection, survival, or self-doubt that can follow us into adulthood, and mostly do. Over time, these imprints may show up as blocked chakras, which, like, even that, like, I'm trying to be more careful with my words, so I might even change that to like unbalanced, just imbalanced chakras, because I don't think they're ever like totally blocked, but there's something that's imbalanced and a distortion to them. And until we bring them back into awareness, and then with love and presence is one of the ways, I'm really like holding our inner child. That's why inner child work is so in the zeitgeist right now. So when we get to this work, it's actually pretty straightforward and it's pretty short. It's actually intended to be that way because my coach who created part of this program and then said, like, here, run with it and create your own thing, which is why I added the energy bodies. She is from a family of 10. They're all came from a really traumatic childhood, and one of her brothers is like in, some sort of facility because he was spent years doing just like talk therapy and all the traditional things, and he's still not healing. So like she was like, let's do this quick. It doesn't have to be like, we don't have to just keep looping and looping forever. Not saying that talk therapy isn't great, but I think there's always got to be like an additional tool in the toolkit. So in this work, we attempt to trace core feelings like fear, shame, anxiety, grief, jealousy, hopelessness. These are like typical feelings throughout the 7 chakras and abandonment back to the root. You may experience this pain again during this process. Give yourself grace. I cried, I've done a lot of things, but it feels very like healing. And anytime you release emotion like that, it's always a healing. So this time we can see these things that happen to us as children with adult eyes and accept that as a child, we just didn't have the tools to deal with the situation. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You just didn't have the tools at a young age to deal with it. And I think that's all part of it. I think I just saw something recently that was, which I've heard before, but it's basically like, you're not broken. It's like the cracks came in to let the light in. So that's probably why we're here. So I want to talk about the 3 forces because I'm gonna like tease in a little bit of the Enneagram and like next year's kind of teachings with you, because this is just such a great thing to understand, that we talk about trinities and, you know, it shows up everywhere. These triangles of energy show up everywhere. And so at its very basic, everything has 3 different forces. So, and it shapes us as we go through the energy. So these forces are always present. And the active force, so this is the energy that initiates. So this may appear in the context we're talking about, is the one who acts, speaks, or imposes energy upon another. Like the less what am I trying to say? The wording, the less empowering wording is the perpetrator. So this represents like the movement, the active. And then the passive energy is that receives. So this may appear as the one who feels, absorbs, or is acted upon. It represents sensitivity and response. So this would be like, if something happened to us as a child, we would be like the passive force in that. Because we received whatever that was. And then the neutral force is just the environment and where those 2 energies meet. So the neutralizing force in any situation is like the God perspective. It's the highest perspective. So when you are facing anything that's in duality, if you can find like the neutral force in that, that's going to be the higher perspective. And it's sad because a lot of people confuse neutral force with spiritual bypassing, and it's not that. You know, it's like that is like the higher perspective is to pull yourself out and become neutral. And it doesn't mean you don't care. It's just like being mindful of where you're putting your energy. So when these 3s when they're actually balanced, creation flows in divine order, because we are in this earthly plane and we need these 3 to become balanced. And when they become unbalanced, then, you know, that's when things arise. Balance is restored when we bring awareness to all 3 aspects, honoring the mover, the receiver, and the space between. So energy can return to harmony and a higher consciousness. So if it's a little, here's a little picture of it. Just let it sit and simmer, because it's still, when we get to the Enneagram, this is the inside of the Enneagram. This is like the 3, 6, and 9. 9's at the top. I'm just going to give you a little teaser because it's so in depth, but it's so good once you, I mean, it could take lifetimes to just study this one thing, but this is the hardest concept, is remembering those 3 forces. Like that's the hardest part of an Enneagram. It's the hardest part, like figuring out what is the active, passive, and neutral. So just kind of like as you go throughout your day, like notice things like in that, like maybe in politics, or, you know, where there's 2 forces that are conflicting. Is there a neutral force? Is there a neutral perspective we can find? Okay, so the soul body. This is the first body in the 10 energy bodies. So think of the theme of this as like heart over head, sorry. The tattva, which just means like the element, is earth, which is the same with the root. This is your most essential self. The soul is vast, timeless, and unlimited. The soul is the individualized piece of the creator. expressing itself uniquely through you, which is something we talked about today in meditation. So we're spiritual beings having a human experience. These lessons in being a human, yeah, see, there's my typos. In being a human are essential to spiritual development. The frequencies of the soul are unity, kindness, compassion, and truth. All is one is the soul's mantra. So the soul body is directly correlated with the root or the Mulhadhara chakra because your soul just wants to feel safe. It wants to feel safe to express itself as it authentically came here to express itself. And here's a breakdown. Some of this is in your book and some of it's not in your little journal. So this is just a quick little breakdown of what it is. Sanskrit etymology, mula means root, adhara is base or support or foundation. The color is red, locations at the base of the spine, elements earth, symbols the four-petaled lotus. The theme is survival, distorted by fear and guilt, harmonized by taking action. And I forgot to write, and changing a behavior, because we'll get into that more with guilt, but it's far easier, even though it doesn't feel like it always, it's far easier to change a behavior than change how you feel about the behavior. It's far easier to change a behavior than, so if like, let me give you an example. If you feel guilt every time you drink, every time you have a cocktail, it's easier for you just to not drink than it is to be like, well, I'm going to change my relationship to how I feel about it. It's not that it's impossible, but I'm just telling you, it's easier to change the behavior with guilt. Just something to keep in mind, whatever that is, whatever your guilty pleasure is. You can change, like I said, you can change your mindset around it, but it's easier if it's not serving you and you feel guilt around it, let it go. Sometimes it takes a lot of lessons to let it go. So I get that. I'm right there with you. So fear and guilt are the distortions of the root chakra, the imbalances, if you will. Oh, whoops. I just lost my thing. Sorry. I don't know what I just clicked on. Okay. Now I can't see you guys. Oh my gosh. Okay. You're just seeing us, right? When I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I just can't see you, but that's okay. I had to touch on something. So these are the distortions or the imbalances of the root chakra typically. When fear and guilt weave into our root chakra, they distort our connection to safety and stability. Fear keeps us bracing for loss, like what's the next thing is going to happen, expecting the ground to give way beneath us. Guilt convinces us we are unworthy of having what we desire or keeping what we create. This can look like feast or famine too, like in a lot of different areas. So this distortion shows up as an instability in the material world. You may gain money, opportunities, or relationships only to lose them again. Life may feel like a constant cycle of feast and famine, success and collapse. The nervous system kind of stays in the survival mode, always waiting for the next fall. So harmony begins when we remember that safety does not come from what we possess, but from the steady presence of the soul. That is so important to remember, like our steadiness. It's not, even though we are in a material world and we need material things, it's our steadiness that shows us that how strong our root chakra is. So as the root chakra rebalances, stability is restored and life begins to hold you rather than test you. And it's still going to test you, but the tests become like easier to bear as your root becomes more stable. So as we're about to get into the kind of meat of what we're doing today. So we're really trying to feel like everything's tracing a feeling. So don't beat yourself up if you can't immediately remember certain aspects of your childhood, or, you go back to like, oh, I remember this thing when I was a teenager. Um, you just thank yourself and ask if they can, okay, thank you for showing me this. Can you show me a earlier time? Because it's typically, if it's a true pattern that we find is still affecting us to this day, it's usually something before the age of 9. And when you come back to like a younger version or like a 20, you in your 20s or whatever, it's typically that the pattern had already taken hold at that point and there was like an earlier time. But you may not remember it the first time, and that's totally fine and it's totally normal. Just give yourself time. What I have found is, like, I thought I was like, oh, it's this. And then throughout the journey through the chakras, through the rest of the week, like I kept my journal kind of near me, like brought it to work with me and stuff in case something came up. You can voice note yourself too. But what I found for me, like I had a lot in my sacral, and when I got to the third eye, like another thing kind of like I remembered because I was like really focusing on the third eye. So just give yourself grace. It's all, no, it's all perfect. So when you start to go, I think though, that's like a red flag because you're not thinking, you're feeling. And you're like, I think this, no. And it's fine. I'm not like, don't judge yourself, but we're not thinking, we're feeling, and we're gonna let the body take us back to that initiating event. Okay, so before we get to these, I want you to sit up nice and tall. If it feels good, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Hold the breath. Exhale. Hold the breath out. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. Take a deep inhale and exhale. Know that you're safe in this moment. We may be revisiting some painful memories, but it's okay. We're all here for each other, and we all want each other to win. And that's why we're doing this work. And all the work that you do for yourself, it really transforms the people around you too. Like that's truly how we change the world, is by changing ourselves. I have a witness to it. Everyone around me is changing, and then I'm attracting the people that want to change too and be better for themselves and then for the world. So you can open your eyes when you're ready and grab your journal. Again, if you feel like what resonates with you more is to speak these things and then write about it later, whatever works for you. You want to just draw in your journal, like that's perfect. If you do feel like speaking it resonates with you, then I would just ask you to mute yourself and do it that way. So okay, yeah. And I wanted to say, no worry, don't be afraid, and it's going to be easy, and just give yourself grace through all of this. So if you're ready, let me see if I can share my music too. I'm going to give you like a little. little background music. If I still have it, I don't even know. Oh, whoops. Then I got rid of. I wonder if I could. I think you should be able to do both, right? Well, we'll see. You may not be able to. We'll do our best. Thank you for your patience with me. Can you still see the screen?
No,
I can.
Jess. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you can't share both. Hmm. But you can hear the music. Okay. And can you see that?
Yeah.
Can you hear the music? No. All right.
No.
Well, so weird. There's got to be some way to do both, but um I can sing to you maybe. Just kidding. Um, oh my gosh. I'm just trying to get oh hey guru. And I want to do more stuff today. I must be crazy. Okay. So the first question to ask yourself is which distortion or disharmonious feeling do you identify with more? What do you think is causing more of a problem for you right now? Fear or guilt? You could have both, but I want you to identify which one's more predominant for this round. Why? Um, for some reason, I can't see you guys when I share. So if you can let me know when you are. I'm trying to think how I can do this. Okay, I think I got
We
it.
can do thumbs up on the
Well,
reactions.
yes, that would work. Here, let me do one thing. Um, okay, I'm not gonna touch anything, and now I can see you. So yeah, let me know. Now I can see you, so give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay. And I can see you writing, so that's fine too. Thank you for the thumbs up, you guys. When I was getting off, I couldn't see literally anything, so Zoom's just been my nemesis today. I can do it on my phone. Okay, so maybe you can hear it on my phone, I don't know. So now that you have identified the feeling, when was the last time you felt this way? Again, feel, don't think. If it was fear, when was the last time you felt fear? And try not to question yourself too much about it. And if you don't get there, it's okay. I find just asking the questions helps dislodge something that may come through later. It may even come through in a dream. And now with the environment, where were you when you felt this way? And maybe you had already started writing that. What was happening? Really describe the situation, the setting. And as you're describing the situation, notice if you're feeling it in your body now as you're reliving it. If not, where did you feel it in your body? For instance, mine was fear, and I felt like a tightness, almost not even just my chest, like around my lungs. It's like squeezing. That was like the feeling of fear. And then as you're feeling into this feeling, does it move fast or does it move slow? For me, again, just to give you an example, mine just felt like a slow kind of like boa constrictor, slowly kind of like squeezing my lungs, pushing down on my chest. And as you're connecting with the speed in which it moves, if you could draw it, what would it look like? You could draw it now if you want, or just explain what it would look like if you could draw it. I think I originally put, let me see my notes. I said like something squeezing my lungs, but now that I'm like having a more visual, I had that boa constrictor kind of reference. Like I imagine it like a boa constrictor just like wrapped around me, squeezing tight. That's how I would draw this feeling if I could draw it. And this is the great thing about me making a PowerPoint. I'm gonna drop this in the chat, and then, like I said, I'm gonna work to get this up this week, but, you'll have the questions to go over again if you're not getting something, or if you wanna go deeper, or if you feel like you've got guilt and fear, you know? Um I'm gonna move to the next page, but you guys take your time, don't feel rushed. Now we're gonna take that feeling, really feel the feeling. I know it's uncomfortable right now. Take that feeling, follow it like you're taking an elevator down to the first time you felt this feeling. So try to remember the first time you felt this feeling of fear or guilt. Remember, don't think, just feel. And once you get to it, describe what's happening in the memory. I just want you to know I'm like here with you. Everything's going to be fine. We're just revisiting that memory, but you will feel probably some discomfort as you're in the memory. So we won't stay here too long, I promise. And as you're going back into the feeling and the story, do you understand why you would be feeling this way at your young age? You had every right to be upset, to be scared, to feel guilty. This is the tools you had in your toolbox at the time, which weren't a lot when we were kids. And what was the story you wrote about this memory that still feels like you're still dealing with it today, still feels true today? So I'll give you an example. For me, the story I wrote about my fear was it wasn't safe to be me. It's not safe to be me. Now, if you need, you can do, if you're feeling like really anxious or anything, you can do some tapping. You can tap on the karate chop and do a few deep breaths, whatever you need. This just tapping really makes you come back to the present moment and feel safe in your body. Um, but it's amazing how like feelings will take you right back to that. So, and when you guys are ready, I want you to close your eyes if it feels safe to do so. See that child version of yourself, whatever age you're at. And you today, as this present, beautiful, radiant being, walk into the room, go to yourself, and tell yourself whatever you would need to hear at that time. For me, it was like, it's okay, Jess, you're safe. You're protected. I love you. I'm sorry this was scary, but everything's going to work out okay for you. Everything's going to be okay. And you're safe to be you. You're safe to express yourself authentically. So, whatever that is for you, go tell your little beautiful 8, 7, 6, 9-year-old self what you needed to hear at that moment. If that resonates, maybe you just need to give yourself a hug. Maybe you were feeling alone and abandoned and you just needed someone to be there with you. You can be that person. Now thank your younger self. Tell her how brave and wonderful she is, and ask her if she has any other messages for you for, for this present day. You told her she's okay. Does she have a message for you? All right, now give her one last hug and tell her that you're there for any time she needs. She can just call on you and you'll be there in a heartbeat. Take a deep breath in. Release it out through your mouth. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Release it out your mouth. Open your eyes. And I want you to complete this statement for me, if it feels resonant. Just because described what happened doesn't mean the story you wrote about it. So mine would be, just because this scary thing happened to you doesn't mean you're not safe to be you. Or just because you didn't feel safe to be you doesn't mean you'll always feel this fear. Whatever it means, it's just because doesn't mean, and this is a really powerful statement in so many ways, can diffuse situations in relationships, but it's really powerful to use for yourself. Just because this situation sucks doesn't mean it'll always suck. It doesn't mean it has to continue to, whatever that is. You guys are doing great. So proud of you. And it just keeps going. Like, this is the beginning. Obviously, we have more time to spend together, but each chakra will reveal something. And I want to tell you, when you're ready, take your time. Anybody that's done, just do a little shake out. This is what animals do in the wild. When something scary happens, they're just like, ah, get it off me. So do a little shake. You're safe in this present moment. You're all beautiful children. I love like imagining you all as kids. And then take some water if you have it. I would really recommend. Water, food grounds you. You can take some conscious breaths here and be really proud of yourself, actually. It's not easy. It's like, whoa, you could just go right back into it, back into that, the muck. And I can't remember who I said this to, so forgive me if I'm redundant, but the first 2 to 3 chakras are the worst. It's like the thickest, muckiest, hardest to kind of like connect with, but then also like probably cause the most problems in our adult life. Um, Once we get up a little higher, we can, we can have a little more levity about it. Or the third eye is fun because you're like, when was the last time I was crazy? When did I get crazy? Like, so really give yourself grace through these first couple of weeks. It's a little challenging and things might come up for you. So ideally, I'd like for you this week to keep your journal on hand. If that feels good to you, you can, like I said, if voice noting feels better, like do whatever works for you. But just like as things come up, like really write them down, speak them, have some sort of record of them for you to go back to, because you'll start to see this pattern has maybe showed up in your life, you know, throughout your life of fear or guilt. And the sooner you can recognize the patterns, the quicker you'll be able to identify and neutralize it in the present situations. And maybe you go back, if you're like, okay, I think I need to go back to like my teenage self and tell her the same thing, like whatever you feel like is healing to you. Because time is and isn't linear. Time is perceived linear, but it's not really. Like there's the quantum, and then when we get into the Enneagram, if you guys are here with me next year, uh we talk about Kairos and Chronos time. So there's chronological time. We have to use both. It's not that time is an illusion. It's just that it's not just linear. And so you can actually go back. I've had experiences where I went back to my like self that was in a marriage that was falling apart and gave myself advice. And I really feel like I traveled back in time. So it's pretty magical. So don't, like what we just you were like traveled back in time. So uh you'll identify the patterns and they'll start to come immediately. You're like, whoa, there it is. And you can start to have a good laugh at yourself. Like, oh crap, I almost went down that like fear-based story again or guilt-based story again. And you can start to find the levity in that, because that's my jam, is to find the funny in things and find the joy and kind of not take things so seriously, especially with ourselves. So so be diligent and paying just close attention, like not don't stress about it, but just really be mindful over the next week, and that you could, do you have a tendency to destabilize yourself? Because usually it's self-sabotaging patterns that we're like, I mean, I'm number one for sabotaging myself. So are you making rash decisions based on these one or two feelings? I really just want you to be an observer, like really pull yourself out. Don't let your emotions get tied to it. Just be like, why do I do that? Interesting. And this is really helpful. Like get a little sticky note. I try to get some Beloved Way sticky notes, but they print it out like you need a magnifying glass to see my logo. I was like, it's a good thing I only got one pack. Anyways, so you can just put a little sticky note on your bathroom mirrors that you see every day. Is this feeling fear or is this feeling guilt? It's something to remind you to like ask the questions. And if fear is your main block of the root, what action can you take? I actually said aligned action. My teacher's like, no, action, just action. Doesn't have to be aligned action because it will align itself as you go. So when you're feeling that, like, because when you're immobile, that's one of those nervous system, right? Like for the fight, flight, or freeze, like you're in freeze. So any action, if you need to jump up and like do jumping jacks, that is going to help move you out of fear. And guilt, the best thing is to change the behavior. And I know that's not always easy, but it's much easier than trying to change your relationship to the behavior, especially when it's like substance abuse or, setting boundaries with someone or something like that. It's like if you always, I had such a tumultuous relationship with my ex-husband, and it was like I had to change the behavior rather than, because I just kept feeling guilt to myself, like I wasn't honoring myself by the things I was allowing. So anyways, but ultimately give yourself grace, compassion, thank yourself every day, every single one of you. So thank yourself for doing this work, because so many people are like, no, not going to do that, don't want to do that, or nothing's wrong with me, I'm perfect, I don't need to do that. It's everybody else is, wrong, which I'm sure we all know people like that too. So that's it. That's it for today. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself if you're not mute, if you are muted, or if you want to share anything, if you'd like me to share like what I wrote just to give you context, like I'm here for you, in whatever way serves you.
That was so powerful, Jess. Thank you so much. So
Yay.
powerful.